Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the Court of the EDI Jester. Become a warrior teacher, buy me a coffee, do the usual. Send us a nice thank you on here, or become a warrior teacher. They're starting 5 days to go. So there's only about 3 days in which you can get one of our last places available. So if you want to become a warrior teacher, look in my profile and in the Dubras, and you'll find details of how to do it. So what have we got for you today? Occasionally one comes along and I'm like, yeah, that worries me. Really worries me. You know, sometimes we've got stuff that is like a storm in a teacup. Sometimes we've got stuff that's amusing and fun because people are so stupid. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that. What about New South Wales? Australians, what are you doing? Right. But there's something, I've sat on it for a couple of days because there's something fundamentally wicked about this. There's something wrong here. And I think it's probably a question for government to answer. I think this needs to be looked at very seriously. And it's from the Telegraph article about new guidance from the 1st of August by Craig Simpson, in which Craig says that librarians told to hide books by gender-critical authors. I couldn't work out for a while why it bothered me, and I don't know whether it's bothered you. If it has, please let me know in the comments. But I couldn't work out why it bothered me so greatly before I get to the article. And it bothered me so greatly because this implies that there is a network of people in control of libraries that are happy to do this. That's, I think, what really upset me about it. And secondly, it's a library. For God's sake, and they're hiding knowledge they don't want people to have. What do they think this is? Name of the Rose? You remember when they hid the books that made people laugh? And, forbidden knowledge and all that. And, and then along comes the Inquisition. Bernardo Gui. And Sean Connery going there. Yeah, Sean Connery, wasn't it? Sean Connery played, what was his name? William of Baskerville, who solved the mystery of the name of the rose. Yes, because this guy was being tortured and having his thumb screwed with and all that business, wasn't it? And what was his name? Ron Perl played the part, I think. And he was going around going, prestidigitate, which was supposed to be some kind of blasphemous speaking. And then there's the speech that William of Baskerville makes, isn't there? He is guilty of being stupid, but he is not guilty of the murders. More monks will die, and they too will have blackened fingers and blackened tongues. And that was all about hiding language, if you recall, hiding knowledge, the knowledge that people laughed, and laughter was joyous. So there's something dark and dismal about this. The new guidance from Council aims to make libraries friendlier to LGBT visitors. So it's being done in the name of LGBT, which I will remind you once again, has now got nothing to do with gay men and lesbians. It's a cult. Libraries from across the country are being advised to prevent LGBT alphabet soup nutters from seeing offensive gender-critical books, the Telegraph can reveal. Now, this article's got a number of links in it. One that links to Helen's article talking about tin pot librarians. Not tin pot librarians, tin pot censor librarians, I think it was Helen said. Guidance shared as best practice among council-run public libraries suggests measures to be more inclusive, including hosting drag queen story hours. They aren't drag queen story hours. When's everybody going to get their head around this? I seem to be the only one screaming into the void. Again, right? It's queer performativity. Call it what it is. It should say council-run libraries, including hosting queer performativity store hours and making toilets unsafe for women, gender neutral, partly to relieve anxiety for women with masculine hairstyles. I know a few women with masculine hairstyles. One of them just done my office. There's absolutely nothing anxious about that woman at all. She's absolutely on the button. Advice on handling transphobic books. That's in speech marks, so quoting. States that librarians should not promote works by gender-critical authors, while mitigating the risk that LGBT readers might encounter these offensive titles on shelves. Again, it's offensive in quote marks. The guidance titled Welcoming LGBTIQ plus users advice for public library workers also suggests that staff limit the number of gender-critical books they stock. What? Libraries have changed. I did a thing couple of videos back, or one video back, which was sort of like happy, clappy, things are all right type stuff, and in which was mentioned that bookshops have become cafes and things. Libraries are very similar. You go to the library in Manchester; it's a fantastic place, extraordinary place, which is the result of great work done by a chap that I know. And it's an extraordinary place to go to, and it's got the most amazing things to see, but it's not just about books. None of them are anymore. Which means that the number of books on display are less than they've ever been. And what they're saying is here, make sure that none of those are gender critical. Or anything that argues for removal of trans rights. Right, these authors and their work can be labelled transphobic. This is in quotes, right? These authors and their work can be labelled transphobic, and the writers themselves TERFs. Trans-exclusionary radical feminists. Tired of explaining reality to fuckwits. Right. We, along with many in the LGBTQI plus community, find these books offensive. Who wrote this? The government needs to ask the question. This is serious. Right? While no books are explicitly named, works such as Helen Joyce's Trans and Kathleen Stock Material Girls are best-selling gender-critical titles, and Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling has been branded a TERF for her views on the trans debate. While accepting that these books are legal and people may want to read them, the guidance for librarians states, and I'm quoting again, we would recommend to be mindful of and not promote these books. Mindful. See, they got the word mindful. There's a CSJ. There's a critical social justice nutter somewhere peering up their own bumpies writing this nonsense in there. They also added, and again to quote, think carefully about how many you want to buy, perhaps based solely on individual requests. They're limiting the ability for people to read books that go against their cult mantra. Does this mean the entire library system is captured by the cult? The government needs to ask the question. This cannot stand. The document claims that gender-critical titles are lacking peer-reviewed research. Right, so they're not just removing them now. They're not just removing them, they're bad-mouthing them. Be careful. Be especially careful to make sure you do not make mistakes, such as putting them on LGBTQ plus display. LGBTQ. I wonder if that's like, Freemasons with a funny handshake and look at my knees thing. And when they meet somebody else who's from the LGBTQ plus world, they go, everything right? Everything right? Yeah, can I come in? What's the password? LGBTQ plus. Don't put them in displays with the LGBTQ plus books, right? There shouldn't be a LGBTQ plus book stage. Just put them everywhere else. Hide them around. Make people look for them, right? You can interfile them in your general stock, and those who want to seek out these titles can always do so via your catalogue without the risk of a LGBTQ plus person coming across the book in a way that looks like it may be being endorsed. This is extraordinary in a democracy in 2023, that there is a person who, I might add, should not be in a job tomorrow, who's able to write this and send it to libraries. The guidance was produced in 2022 by an Islington LGBTQ plus Isidore Orbeck George. Fire, whoever it is. Fire it. Who drew up the advice with Lambeth librarian Colette Townend and academic Dr. Elizabeth Chapman, whose doctoral thesis was on, oh God, provision of LGBT-related fiction to children and young people in public libraries. Why is it always these nutters from the, English department of the humanities? The guidance has been provided to staff working for local authorities, with Leicestershire, West Berkshire and Gateshead Council making use of the advice. The Book 28 advises is also shared on the websites of professional bodies, the Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals in Scotland, and Charity Libraries Connected, an organisation. And Charity Libraries Connected, an organisation whose membership includes every library service in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Advice suggests inclusive measures such as adding a gender-neutral toilet or gender-neutralising a toilet. That's like some of that science fiction, isn't it? It's over there. The toilet. Do it now. What? Press the gender-neutralising button. They're mad, right? And you do that to alleviate anxiety for LGBT people as well as cisgender people who are just Go and, jump in a bloody lake who are gender non-conforming, like women who adopt more masculine clothing and hairstyles. It's insanity of the first order, right? Insanity of the first order. Guidance notes that many children and young people are queer. There are no queer children, you sick puppies. Or will come to identify as queer. You can't identify as queer, it's not a thing, it's a theory, you nut jobs. Or it's an expression, as in, he was somewhat queer, don't you think? If you're watching a film pre-1950, you know the sort of thing, it's all bodice ripping and how queer. It's that stuff in it, right? But it is, isn't it? It's very, what was his name? Not Oscar Wilde, the other one. Oh, Ivan Novello, isn't it? Oh yes, it's all very queer. Mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun. Oh, yeah, it's a bit queer, isn't it? Right? Stop it. Right? I suggest the events for young people, including Drag Queen King story times, for which there is a dedicated section with the book 28 documentation. It suggests that at least a quarter of stock for young adults could relate to LGBT issues. And contrary to the caution urged for gender-critical books, suggests that for LGBT volumes, libraries would benefit from 2 copies of as many titles as possible. If you ask me, it's all very queer. Typical of woke left. The suggestion for volumes labelled transphobic have caused concerns about censorship. Censorship with Free Speech Union founder Toby Young warning, I'm afraid it's all too typical of the woke left to urge librarians to censor books in the name of inclusion. It's the same doublethink that has infected Coutts the bank. You'll remember the furore over Farage and Coutts. Yep. Oh, it looks like he's taken to the cleaners for about 700 grand. Right, okay. Which tried to debank Nigel Farage because he isn't aligned with the bank's inclusive values. What's next? Telling libraries to burn the works by Kathleen Stock and Helen Joyce because they're daring to challenge trans-inclusive dogma. It seems that there are still witchfinder generals in the 21st century, except instead of wearing witchfinder hats and black cloaks, they display rainbow lanyards. That's good. Equity, diversity and inclusion is the holy trinity of the new Puritans. Southwark, Leicestershire, West Berkshire and Gateshead Council have been contacted for comment. But of course, as usual, none of them will, as they grasp their puckered up buttocks. Be a bit of squeaky bum going on right now, won't there, in the librarian world? Right, who authorised this? So hopefully with a bit of daylight from the media and from our good selves, and by tweeting this, sharing it and sending it out there, we can start to move to the point where the government's going to ask the question, why does this even exist? Because if they're doing it about this, what else are they doing it about? What about that for a thought? What else are they getting away with? Anyway, I'm no fan of censorship. I think it should end. There should be none. But that's just me. None. Nothing. Don't censor things for me. I'm an adult, right? Don't. It's that simple. Go away. Yes, I'm done. Go. I'll see you later.